Well, it's about time for us to move this old Studebaker here. It's been in here about 40 years or so, and allegedly it drove in here. So we got it dug out a little bit. We're gonna have to chain up the back here and see if we can pick it up and scoot it over and then pull it out. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, that wheel's turning. Oh yeah. Working good. Well, it's the next morning, and to be honest, I did not expect to pull that car out last night, and I was ill prepared to make a video. My camera battery was almost dead, so I got whatever footage I could. Thankfully, camera battery didn't die until we got the car out. So car is out. Not even pulling it out for the car necessarily. We need to kind of fix up the shed that it's in so it doesn't, fall down. But since we got it out here, let's take a look at it. It's been in that shed for at least 40 years. My grandpa says he drove it in, and my dad says he thinks we pushed it in. So one of the two happened, but either way, it hasn't been on the road since about 68 there, even if it ran after that. But we got it out, and it's not as bad as I thought it would be, because it was buried right up to the axle. Alright, where was I before I was so rudely interrupted by an escaped cow? Alright, the rust. This thing isn't as bad as I thought it was. It's got some rust on it, but the thing was buried up to the axles, and if you look underneath, I mean, you got some rot here, but the floor pans still appear to be there. The frame is still there. Even the gas tank, somehow, I don't see a hole in it, which is amazing. A lot better shape than I thought it would be after sitting so long. And all four wheels actually spun, which is incredible. I figured this thing would break in half, but it somehow managed to survive. And I think all the rust that's on it was probably on it when they were driving it. You can see these are all rusted out here underneath, but it's not in that bad a shape. And the other door doesn't open, but this one still does. And the interior, not horrible, not terrible shape. The dash is still decently nice. Haven't been able to get in the glove box yet, but we got all the keys and everything, and a little accessory book that the mice have had fun with. But yeah, I'll have to go through some of this stuff. Obviously a mouse hole in the seat, but all in all, not horrible. Even most of the headliner's still here. Probably a mouse or two in it. go ahead and see if we can pop the hood quick. I'll probably need two hands for this. Here we are under the hood. I mean, it's all pretty much still here. Even the 6-volt battery needs a bit of a cleaning, but there's no parts missing. The engine, I can't turn that by hand, so I may have to try to get a breaker bar on it just to see if it's free. I have no idea if it is or not. I think that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm not going to throw a battery in it because I can see already just right up front there are wires that are unhappy, so I imagine there's probably other wires, given the amount of mouse nests in here, that are not happy. I don't really want to burn it down. Trunk does open. Oh, it's heavy. But you can see, you know, floor is still in it, probably because the gas tank's there, but there's a huge mouse nest there behind the spare. I don't see any other goodies in here. A little bit of daylight coming through the floor, but not the end of the world. Remarkably good shape for sitting as long as it has. Yeah, I think these were all when it was on the road. Well, I suppose. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. I suppose we should get a breaker bar on it and just see if it's free. Alright, I managed to get all of the spark plugs out. These two in the center were a little stuck in there, rusted in, because there was a mouse nest laying on top, but got them all out. Got some Marvel Mystery Oil thrown down the cylinders there, and I took the fan off so I get down to that massive bolt. I think it's like 1.5 inches or something, and it's got a tab folded over it. So I had to use a pipe wrench on it rather than a regular wrench or socket. But put that on there, got it to turn over a full revolution and then some, and I didn't hear or feel any weird things, so I think we're good there. It was a little tight, but after I got it going, she went fine. So the motor's free. Can't say anything about the valves at this point, but motor's free. Now I got to figure out how to crank it. Do I want to hook up the battery? The wiring here, anyway, looks pretty sketchy. I'll have to take a good look around, look at all the rest of the wiring, and determine if I want to try to put a battery in it or hot wire the whole thing or what. But we're on the road. It's free, so it should run, right? Alright, I've kind of been working ahead a little bit. I took a look at the rest of the wiring and said that was okay. It's just this little section here for the lights that's chewed up. And I went ahead and I stole battery out of that Ford tractor, threw it in, and it turns over with the starter button under the clutch. So that's a good sign. Went ahead, tried for spark, didn't get any spark. So pulled the cap off here and cleaned the points a little bit. They were pretty nasty. They're gonna have to be replaced at some point. And cleaned off the little button and the cap. So hopefully we can get some spark. So I'm going to throw that back together, and I think I'm going to take that line off just because I doubt there's anything in the tank or in the line, but if there is, I don't want to get too much of it in there. There's probably nothing. And I don't mind checking for spark with it, because if it comes out and gets on everything, it's 40 years old, it's not going to burn. So we'll go ahead and put it back together and see if we can get a spark out of it. Alright, I got everything buttoned back up down there. I got my spark checker out of the way because this doesn't have any insulation on it. They were made that way, so I got to keep that off of anything metal so I can see if we got a spark. So let's hook it up. Nothing exploded. I like that. And I'll set you on a tripod aimed at that thing, and hopefully we can see if we got any spark, because I can't see it from inside the car. Alright, hopefully that'll give me a clear enough picture I can see it when I review the video to see if I got spark. Let's go give it a try. Well, I went over to review the video and I came back and my lights are working. I don't know how that works, but I don't really like that, so I'm gonna disconnect that battery. Weird, sure. With all that wiring that these would not be working. I should find a way to turn them off. But anyway, I looked on the video, I didn't see any spark coming from here. Hard to tell. Might have a weak spark, or maybe I gotta clean that those points again. But yeah, the headlights work. That's nuts. Well, I think the lights just might be stuck on forever. I can't seem to move that that light switch in or out at all. That one I can move just fine. Yep, those two, whatever they are not happy. But yeah, I think the lights are just they're stuck on. So in the meantime, it didn't catch fire yet, so I figured I'll throw a little tape on here in the spots I see that it's worn through and hope that it doesn't do anything. And I'm going to go ahead and get another spark plug wire I can shove down there that's a little bit longer, and I'll test it right off the coil and see if our coil's putting anything out, and we'll go from there. Alright, I tinkered around with it a little bit and tested it coming straight out of the coil, and I'm getting a little bit of spark out of the coil itself, but nothing to the plugs. So points are probably, no, they're corroded. I cleaned them up and just got a little bit of spark. But the cap looks pretty bad, so I'm probably going to get some tune-up parts. Cap at the very least, points and condenser, maybe just a set of wires and plugs, because I think our problem is there. The wiring to it seems to be working. I haven't caught anything on fire yet with the headlights on, so that's good. So yeah, I'm going to go look up some parts and see if I can find something, because I don't think I can clean up what's there very easily. So probably best to just get new parts. But when we were cranking it, I felt over all the cylinders and they were all pushing air out, so I'm hoping that the valves are moving just fine. And once we do the ignition and we get spark, then we can move on to fuel. Alright, we are back at the Studebaker here, and I've got a box of parts. I got all sorts of ignition stuff in here, but I think what we're going to try first is the cap and rotor. I've got the points and coil and condenser and all that stuff in there too, but I'm thinking that my main problem was that cap and rotor, because I was able to get some spark out of the coil, but I just couldn't get it to the plugs. So I'm going to start by just swapping out that cap and rotor, because it's easy and quick, and then I think we'll throw a battery in it and see if we can get the spark all the way to the plugs. And if we can, maybe throw a little gas down the carb and see if she'll start, or fire at least. Well, that's a wee bit disappointing. If you look at the rotors here, they look the same from this angle, but if you flip them over, they do have a very different way to mount. So rotor's not going to work, and then unfortunately the cap will also not work. We've got kind of a short ledge here to plug that in, and this one's got a real tall one, and it's just not quite right. So I'm gonna have to try again. They had like 4 different frickin' options for cap and rotor, so I picked the ones that I thought were gonna work, but apparently they won't. So I'm gonna have to try again before I can get this thing running. Well, it looks like it'll be a couple of days before I get my new cap and rotor, so I figured I'd go ahead and clean this one up the best I could and see if I can make it work. It's not the best cap in the world. That button is almost gone, and all little contacts in there had some pretty extreme pitting, and a couple of the holes in here, you can see that one's kind of shiny, and this one here is just green, and so is the top one. So I cleaned those out the best I could. Maybe we can get a little spark out of it. Yeah, it's worth a try to kill some time until I get a new one. And yeah, we'll throw that on there and see if we can get some spark. Well, I got that cap cleaned up as best I could, and I'm still not getting spark to the plugs. Get it out of the coil, but not the plugs. So I think we're going to go ahead and just clean off some of this crap, and I might change the coil on the points, see if that gets us enough spark to overcome the bad cap or not. I've got nothing else to do until I get another cap and rotor, so we might as well tinker with some other things. Alright, cleaned off the rotor a little bit more, played with the cap, replaced the coil, and I seem to have a tiny bit of spark going to the plugs. So it's a bit windy outside, so I'm going to keep you in the barn here and zoomed in. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it if it does fire, but we're going to dump some gas down it and see if it'll run. We can try a little spray. Well, no go yet, but it's cranking, and it had some sort of spark. Maybe it's just not enough. I think I'm going to throw it on the battery charger and let that battery charge up a while anyway. I've been cranking it quite a bit, so it's a 6 volt. It's not going to crank that fast anyway. But alright, I got new plugs, new wires, new coil zip tied in there, and I cleaned the cap the best I could, and got the headlights to shut off by unplugging them. And I wasn't filming, but I just decided to throw a little gas down there, and it actually started. So we're gonna hook it up, try it again, and hopefully it runs. It sounded pretty good. I think maybe I'll bring the camera up here if I can. I'm not sure. I'm excited now. It runs. Well, hopefully the wind won't be too bad. her up, see if we can fire it up again. Smokes a little bit because I got this is my old Marble Mystery squirter. We'll dump some in there. Get some down. Hopefully that's enough. Let's give her a try. I don't have it running too long, but until I get some fuel fed to it, she runs. Awesome. Alright, easy part's done. Got it to fire up and run for about 30 seconds. Now the work begins. After I had it running that little bit, I noticed that line right back here, that rubber line that goes to the oil pressure gauge is leaking pretty good too. So I've got a new one on the way, but in the meantime I think I'll find my oil pressure test gauge and see if I can plug that either up there or down below where it attaches to the engine. Got to do that before I run it anymore. And then over here we got to see if this fuel pump still works. I'm not sure. I've got another one on the way, but it won't be here for a while. So in the meantime, I think we'll see if we can make that work. See if we can get it to pump its own fuel up to the carburetor. Hopefully the carburetor works halfway decent and it can run on its own. And then after that we got to put the fan back on and try the coolant. I don't know, it's got absolutely nothing in it. I think my grandpa said it had water in it, so he drained it when he parked it, is my understanding. We'll see. But let's go find that test gauge and see if we can get it screwed in there to block off that massive oil leak before we run all the oil out of the motor. Alright, I've got an incredibly rigged up system here. I've got a piece of hose on that oil line because I couldn't find an adapter to fit that, so it's a piece of hose with a bolt. I fired it up, it doesn't seem to be leaking, so we're good there. I've also got the can in the front and it seems to be sucking up some fuel, so that seems to be working. So I think I can plug this in and yeah, see if I can get it to run on its own fuel. Like I said, I don't know how good the carburetor is, but I think we'll find out. Alright, pretty windy out again, so I got you back a ways and just zoomed in. Let's give her a go and see if it'll run on its own fuel. Well, I can see we've got a pretty good fuel leak already. I kind of figured that would happen, but hey, I got fuel up to the carb. We're getting somewhere. Oh, you're way zoomed in still. There we go. Anyway, I got fuel up to the carb and it's of course leaking. Not surprising at all. So maybe that'll fix itself if I tap on it a little bit, stuck float or something. We'll give her a try. Can't hurt. Well, she may be a bit flooded, so we'll hold the choke open and see what she does. If anything. Starter likes to kick out when she rumbles to life. Revving up a little much, but she's running. Wanted to stop and look for leaks, but I don't see any as of yet. Good, good, good. Good, good, good. We'll have to figure out why she's revved up. I suppose it's probably just on cold start mode. Didn't try to hit the gas. Well, let's try her again. Why not? All right. Let's make sure she don't run away on us. There we go. Sounds a little better now. Not terrible. No big leaks. She's running good. I like it. Sounds pretty smooth, all things considered. I like it. Not even smoking anymore. Awesome. See if she'll rev up a little bit. Sweet. All right, now I think we'll set her up and maybe clean off the windshield and air up the tire and try to move it just a little bit. All right, we're gonna give her a go and see if she moves. I ain't got no brakes, so we'll see what happens. Well, that worked pretty good. Let's see if we'll make it down the driveway. Well, it drove all the way back. I didn't film it because I figured I better have two hands for the wheel and the key and everything, seeing as I didn't know how it would go, but we made it here just fine. While I was parked here, I had sounded like a shotgun blast just sitting there all by itself, and a tire blew out, so I went in the trunk and found the spare and I put that on. Still holds air. I probably better not kick it too hard, it might blow out like the other one, but now I think we're going to fire it up, see if we can get it over there without crashing, and wash her up. Alright, time for its first bath in about 40 years. See how she cleans up. Well, not too shabby. I got most of that 40 years worth of goo off of there. Obviously I haven't wiped her down or polished her or anything, but not too bad. I think you could shine up most of that paint pretty easy. Well, I got most of the crud off it anyway. I don't think it's half bad. Yeah, I'll have to deal with the inside. Suck up all the mouse turds right where I sit, you know. And then get that door open if I can. But I think that'll be it for now. Got it running, moving, driving, and cleaned up a little bit.